I'm very bullish on magnesium, in particular magnesium threonate before sleep. For sleep, I take AGZ because I help them build it. It just has a bunch of things like magnesium threonate and saffron and tart cherry, the things that have either been shown or are, gradually they're amassing research data to other people, studies out there to support that it can facilitate either transition to sleep or sleep. But magnesium threonate and magnesium bisglycinate, to me, are interchangeable with respect to sleep. But magnesium threonate, I'm aware there are some studies that there may be some cognitive benefits. So magnesium obviously could be split into a number of things, but maybe we just start there with threonate bisglycinate. I have a feeling that you're aware of some additional differences between them, and I'd like to know what you prefer for sleep or for cognitive benefits, and then maybe we get into the other magnesiums.
Yeah, I think so. If we're comparing magnesium bisglycinate or magnesium glycinate, depending on how many molecules of glycine are attached to the magnesium, compared to magnesium L-threonate, the main difference here, and this is based on very limited amount of data, a lot of it animal data with respect to the magnesium threonate, is that form of magnesium is supposed to get into and cross the blood-brain barrier more readily and get into the brain better. And in the brain, it's, helping facilitate neurotransmission, et cetera, right? Helping improve cognitive function. And so whereas magnesium glycinate or bisglycinate, you're having the magnesium attached to the glycine. Glycine also is great to take for sleep. So I like to take magnesium bisglycinate or glycinate for sleep. And so that I would say if you're interested in more the cognition aspect.
Well, the studies, I think you're referring to the Guosong-Lu's data, show some, in mice, some cognitive enhancement or at least some offsetting of cognitive decline. Those are different but related, obviously. In anticipation of today's discussion, I was able to find one study, seems okay, it's not a huge sample size, showing a positive reports on sleep quality after magnesium L-threonate. So the studies are starting to show up. But there aren't a lot of studies on magnesium for specific outcomes in humans. And I think it's because it hits 3,000 plus pathways.
There's a lot of pathways. Yeah, it's a cofactor for many enzymes.
So if you're taking bisglycinate before sleep, are you taking it a half hour or 60 minutes before sleep?
I'm usually taking it, I would say, a couple hours before bed. Sometimes I add a little bit more magnesium in the mix, depends on the day and if I exercise more, because you do sweat out magnesium. And so if you're pretty athletic, your requirements can go up by even as much as 20%. But yeah, the magnesium L-threonate, it's interesting. I very recently got interested in experimenting with it. There's a little bit of human evidence as well that it improves cognition. Not strong, but again, it's that, we just don't have a lot of people researching it. And we have the animal data. The animal data is a little stronger. Don't have a lot of human data, but it seems to signal it might be important. It might help with cognition, right? And so I kind of got interested in experimenting with the magnesium L-threonate, which I haven't usually, it's a new thing for me. I've been doing magnesium glycinate for a while.
I think the study actually looked at the Magtine version.
Yes.
I have no financial relationship to Magtine. I want to be very clear. I just mentioned that because that's a common one out there. And as far as I know, I'll double check, but they weren't paid by Magtine. But
I think the Magtine did fund the study.
Oh, they did?
So yeah.
Okay. All right.
But,
we'll put a link to it.
Doesn't discredit it unless there's some, bad things going on, which I like to think not. I mean,
it's supposed to be done independently. I mean, when they pay for a group to do, I mean, by law, they're supposed to blind the data and not bias the outcomes.
Right. I mean,
one hopes that's what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for the most part, you're probably okay. But it is something to consider if there's a potential COI, right? But yeah, so I don't know. So that was the first part of your question, was the difference between the glycinate and the threonate. And then the concern that I might have, which might be something you're not thinking about, is, okay, well, I need to fulfill my magnesium requirements, right? And so our daily magnesium requirements, again, based on our gender and our physical activity, it's a range. It's a sliding scale. So, women, 300, 350 milligrams a day, men, 350, 400 milligrams a day, really depending on how physically active you are. And this is just, your daily requirements to have enough magnesium to run, repairing DNA damage, to run. You need magnesium to make energy, to utilize energy. You need it for neurotransmission. There's so many different, important functions in our body that require magnesium to work to convert vitamin D3 into the active steroid hormone. And this to me is like, to some degree, vindicating, but also I'm super annoyed by it because, we have all these different studies out there on vitamin D supplementation, and is it important? And I mean, there's so many negative data out there. Well, it doesn't do what we thought. It's not doing anything. But half the U.S. population doesn't get enough magnesium. And so those enzymes that are important for converting the D3 that you're taking into the active steroid hormone are not working properly. So anyways, I'm not going to go on that tangent, but I'm just saying magnesium is doing a lot of things. So if you are taking the magnesium threonate, and let's say it's going into the blood, the brain more readily, then the concern would be, well, not enough of it is around for, DNA repair and other organs and stuff. And so you might want to get another source of magnesium. It's all theoretical, right? And like, there's no data on that. So just mostly because no one's looking at it. No one's investigating it.
There's not a lot of incentive. It's funny when people will always say, well, there's no incentive because the drug companies can't make a lot of money on it. And sometimes that's true, but I have to chuckle because as scientists, I will tell you folks, and like, I wish I could just like paint this across the sky, but then I get accused of being like a chemtrail person or something. The reason there's no studies on BPC 157, the reason there's no like RCTs on a randomized control on different forms of magnesium and large sample sizes, because we barely have enough money to fund the current research. Like I'm not trying to make this political, like we just had a 1% increase in the NIH budget, but like there isn't an infinite amount of money to run studies. And so scientists if they already work on magnesium or it becomes interesting to them because it came up in a screen of pathways, there are not a lot of scientists sitting around going, oh, like maybe I should compare magnesium malate, bisglycinate, threonate in sleep in 2,000 subjects, male, female, like pregnant and perimenopausal. Like, no, there's no money to do it. Like, so that's where I get back to, is it safe? Do you want to be in the experimental or the control group? Can you afford to be in the experimental or the control group?
Yeah.
I feel like that's like all we've got. And I'm chuckling out of, it's a sort of like a laughter of pain because I get where people are coming from, but the drug companies are not like avoiding studying magnesium because there's no money to make. It's because, I don't know, what would that even look like? What endpoint? What disease? Anyway.
Yeah.
Forgive me for editorializing.
You're not going to cure, cardiovascular disease or cancer by taking a magnesium supplement. I mean, these nutraceuticals, these vitamins and minerals, they're about prevention, really, and giving your body the right nutrients that it needs to do and function properly. Whether that is getting enough sleep. When you're stressed, when your cortisol goes up, chronically, you're depleting magnesium. It's very like magnesium is being used to deal with that stress, right? So there's a reason that we need things like magnesium and vitamin D. It gets converted into steroid hormone, changing 5% of our genome. So it's different. It's not like a pharmaceutical where you don't need this, to function optimally, but it's the whole like, okay, I'm sick and now I need this, or I'm overweight, right? We got the GLP-1s, right? I'm fat, I'm obese. And I need to, help fix that. And so that's kind of a different paradigm than
specific endpoint type stuff.
Yeah, exactly.